Hi! I got a webcam. I also got a very expensive blue screen, as you can probably tell. It's amazing technology. I feel like a professional. If I look strange at all, it's for no reason. It's for, everything's fine. Just normal blue screen stuff happening here. Let's get to the mailbag. All right. Also, if you hear the echoes of a giant, I don't know, plastic drum or something, also unrelated. Let's dive in. Oh, mailbag. Whoa. Suppose VR and simulations are sufficiently realistic to be indistinguishable from our current experience of life. In a scenario where anyone could just make their ideal simulated world, would there be any reason to decide to live in the real world, in the real and imperfect world? Well, if you if someone rolled up to me like door-to-door salesman in the middle of a pandemic, which I have actually had to deal with for some reason, this was proposed like perfect virtual thing, indistinguishable from real life, but I knew I was leaving this life behind. No, I wouldn't go. I'm just gonna leave this life, leave my kids and stuff. Nor would I want, although that's probably gonna be what happens. Once my kids turn 18, they're just gonna plug in to whatever headset. Okay, I needed to confess something here. Speaking of a virtual world that is every bit as good as the real one, my amazing blue screen. It's my children's pool. It's yeah. I was just hiding in that. That was so yeah. I don't know. Did it record while I was changing settings? But yeah, this was my blue screen. I know my kids have peed in that. Now that I think about it, they've peed in that. That was on my head just now. Oh, I've made smarter decisions in my life. Okay. But why I could see a lot of people bailing. I mean, this is what, you know, we're dancing around the whole idea of like drug addiction and things. Anything that makes you feel better than what you would normally feel whenever you're in the quote unquote real world, yeah, it's I think there's just the fact that this is your actual life that is warrants living it. This is very sweet, or I'm sure a lot of people are going to call it brown nosy. And I would call it my nightmare. I would be terrified if I was put in charge of every single class. Actually, I do have nightmares about like, oh, can you cover this lecture? And I'm like, oh, I've never taught that class. So like, oh, you're fine. You're such a good. And then I go in, I don't know the material. Like, I couldn't teach like signals and systems and that kind of stuff. Like, if you're this person, very curious, what was the average grade for lab 4? That was a hard lab. Follow up with me. I would need to know which class and which semester. I'd be happy to tell you averages. I just need to know which class and when you're talking about. I see here. Oh, I haven't done one in a while. So this is a question from July 14th. Any updates on fall semester? Also, what would you do if you were a student and were out of state, far from KU? Would you be signing a lease to live in Lawrence? Ooh, okay. Well, so any update on the fall semester? I guess. I mean, KU is officially moving as of today, which is July 22nd. KU is officially moving ahead with in-person classes, but there's a whole bunch of caveats. So social distancing rules have to be enforced. They are splitting up like any class that can't just normally house, like let's say we have a classroom, like so the rooms have attached to them now a social distancing threshold, and if more students are enrolled than that room allows, so let's say, you know, a classroom could safely allow for 10 students to be social distance in the lecture, and 20 students are enrolled, then they would they're going to split up the section so that half attend on one day and half attend on another day, um, and that's as basically as far as the higher ups have gotten. There are still lots of unanswered questions. At least, again, basically I am one rung above you in this totem pole of the dissemination of information, um, where not to say it's not public. It's just in terms of them like knocking on our door saying like, here's a bunch of solutions. It's up to us to actually go out and read up on it. I'm mainly just waiting for the next set of faculty meetings to sort of get a digested version from someone whose job is to pay attention day in and day out. I've mainly just been kind of checking in with the provost's remarks. I've heard things like they're going to test every single person once fall starts. Again, like basically every single answer just generates more questions. Like they're going to test every single student, and I assume staff and faculty member upon the fall semester starting up. How that is going to get distributed, I don't know. How results will be conveyed back, I don't know. There's still a lot that has to get unpacked. And I think there's still questions that still need answers. If I was someone who lived out of state, would you be signing a lease to live in Lawrence? To be honest, I'm very curious, like what happened last semester, right? Because this is, last semester everyone was just sent home, don't come back. So, I know some people stayed in Lawrence, but just did the class from there. If what you're asking is, do I think that this semester will stay in person the entire time? I'd be lying to you if I said like 100% it's going to be in person all semester long. There's no one that would guarantee that. I know we are going to try it. How long we make it, I don't know. If taking on that kind of financial obligation to come to Lawrence, pay rent, and then have to go home, if that would like decimate you financially, which is understandable, especially at this point in your life when you don't have a whole lot of income, and the time to get a whole lot of income, I would, be talking to your landlord and be saying things like, I'm here to go to school. So, what arrangements, like, can I, if I break the lease, is it just losing a month's rent? Can I absorb that cost? I would look at it from a worst case scenario, assuming that you would just have to turn around, go home, halfway through the semester or a little bit later. But if you know that once you sign that lease, that's just going to be where you live regardless of what happens, then I think that's a less of a risk to take. If once you come back, you're just going to be here for 8 months, even if you're doing online classes from that apartment or wherever, that doesn't seem like too bad of an idea. Whoop, let's shrink that a bit. Okay. What gives me hope? I guess historic trends. I'm assuming this is in the context of like what's going on. So, there are always going to be like these huge dips in morality, or morale, I guess, not morality. Well, morality too, but in morale, and cause to be like, wow, I can't believe things got this bad. But looking back, across history, we're still trending up. And as I was listening to just a podcast not too long ago, and just this quote sticks out in my head, like, like the 80s were nuts. It's like, yeah, wow, some of the stuff that happened back then was pretty bonkers. Like, you know, the idea of like airplane hijackings being commonplace, and just the most like stuff that we're like, oh, that just happened over and over again. And that's certainly not to say that what we got going on is the ideal by any means, but um you see these glimmers that indicate that things can get better, and they usually do. You just hope that they get better in time for you to enjoy them. So, do you have any catchphrases that you use a lot? My wife would probably say I use Jolly Jeepers more than the average person. Jolly Jeepers. Yeah. Are loot boxes gambling? Um, so loot boxes, I guess for the uninitiated, and I'm gonna oversimplify and probably get something wrong here, is basically where you pay into a game like some sort of small fee to get a randomized collection of rewards or tokens or something. So like in, I guess the pre-digital version of this were just any sort of collectible cards, right? Like in Magic, you bought a pack of Magic the Gathering cards. You didn't know what was in there, and you hope you got something good. Um, and now a lot of games have these. Um, I don't. I don't really like. For me, okay. Are they gambling? I mean, I guess the very definition is you put in money not knowing what sort of reward you're going to get out. Okay, I guess that they fit the definition of gambling. Are they good or bad? Are they moral or immoral? I mean, to me, it's. I feel like there is definitely an angle you can take with these where, like the Magic the Gathering things, where the Magic the Gathering cards, where the more money you throw at this, the better you are at this game. And I think that is a very malicious business model to have. If, I think some people call this model like pay to win or something like that. That's what the cool kids say. If what's in them is just completely aesthetic things, I'm like, all right, that's fine. As long as what you're getting out of these loot boxes isn't a game mechanic, I really don't care what's in them. And if I open one, I'm like, oh, hey, a costume or a hat or a new skin or whatever for my character, or a new, I don't know, just a completely cosmetic thing. It's like, oh, neat, okay, because I don't really like. I may want some cosmetic thing in a video game, which is silly. Like, here's my hat of choice. There we go. Come at me now, noobs. But if this gave me, if this doubled my health and damage in a game that's competitive, then no, that shouldn't be what your business model is based on. So definitely urine in there. All right. All right. I am looking at these live again, or sight unseen, or whatever you say. Can you get this reference without looking it up? Hey, yeah. You ever wonder why we're here? I don't. Nothing jumps to mind. I'm gonna guess it's two people laying on the hood of a car staring up at something, but nope. Don't know what it is. Off the top of my head. Oh no, everything's ruined. Let's try again. Making sure this is a clean question. Here we go. I really appreciate the Pokedex Lab. Aw. Do you play Pokemon? If so, all right, hang on. So let's do this piecewise. Do you play Pokemon? Oh, I didn't mean to erase the whole thing. There we go. Do you play Pokemon? No. Did I? Oh yes. In high school, I had Pokemon Blue, and I played a lot of that to fit in with my friends. I was like, I came in late. They had already been playing and had a bunch of level 100s. And so this is the original 151, which I think was what was in that lab. And I played Gold and Silver a little bit which I was like a freshman in college when that came out. And then if you show Pokemon to me today, wouldn't even know what's what. They look pretty bonkers today. But I did, and I loved it. So what's the rest of this? If so, what generations have you played? All right. And what's your favorite game? Blue? What are you doing, Louis? That was weird. I thought a door opened. Anyway, red and blue would definitely be my favorites. The first 151. Just because that was my brand. That's what I grew up with. Also, what's your favorite Pokemon? No brainer, Snorlax. I had a team that was entirely level 100 Snorlaxes. And what's your favorite type? Back in the day, I don't know what types are around now. I assume it's still around. Normal. I had an all normal team that ended up being half Snorlaxes and half Chanseys. And that was tough to deal with. That was just a lot of HP. And in red and blue, Body Slam could paralyze. Had like a 25% chance to paralyze, which basically meant like I think it was like on your turn, you have a 1 out of 4 chance to just not go. You just don't, your turn, it's like being asleep for that turn. And they all had that, or at least all my Snorlaxes had that move. My Chanseys all had poison. And it was, all they would do was get in there, they would cast poison, and they'd cast, God, it was an egg name. Boiled egg, something like that. Egg up, eat an egg, and they just heal. So basically, I would slam these Chanseys in there with like over 700 HP. They'd cast poison and then just heal themselves while you died. I had a Chansey that could solo Mewtwo. Just with that it was, I enjoyed it because I was in high school and I was like, ha 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 ha. You thought your team out. I just cast poison. Ooh, controversial. Let's see here. Do you believe this year's election will have a lot of voter suppression, interference from other countries, etc.? I don't know how to put a number on a lot. I've already so there. Yeah, I guess the answer would be yes, unquestionably yes, but not maybe for the reasons that you think. Maybe what I'm actually saying yes to is, are there going to be gigantic hurdles for voters to vote? Yes, I've already experienced them. So basically, in Missouri, I had to make the decision: do I show up to the polls in person during the pandemic, or do I put in like way ahead of time? Like I already had to do this. There's a local election that isn't for 2 weeks, and I've already had to send in an application for absentee voting. I have not voted yet. I have put in a request. I will then get a ballot in the mail that I will then have to fill out like I'm voting, then get it notarized. Okay? Getting things like all of that, while I don't think it's like the traditional definition of voter suppression where basically like, that historically that's not what it has been, but that it just making voters jump through any number of hurdles between them and voting, and making voters choose the typical route, but with the typical route of just going to the polls comes a undeniable health risk, or having to plan out way ahead of time something that then just leads to more hurdles. This is going to be an election that is going to require voters to put in a lot more work than they're used to. Interference from other countries. Only if things change. I mean, I meant, I was in my head. I was like, that won't happen only if things change. So, but like, yeah, I mean, it's a two-way street. Let's not forget it's a two-way street. But holy cow, like the the you know the interest in other countries to cause turbulence in another nation's election process. We have like America has been on the giving end of this, and you know, it, would another country just like even just so much as like place ads in our social network stream? Yeah, it's gonna happen. To what scale? I don't know. That would probably require a full scale investigation again. So, but long story short, regardless of what all that, like, however it's gonna go down, for goodness sakes, vote. like like my go-to, you know sort of whimsical haha analogy for this is, this isn't mine, I got this off the internet. The mayor in Jaws 2, or I effed it up, the mayor in Jaws is still the mayor in Jaws 2. Okay, voting is extremely important. The people in Kansas right now, all right, and I'm not talking just like presidential election, all right, that should just be a no-brainer. Like, even if you're like, well, that's not the candidate I support on either side of the aisle, I really don't care. Pick one. Pick the one that is closest to your actual political alignment. Okay. For way too long, too few people have been making in decisions that are like globally impactful and historically impactful. And the idea that literally millions of people can just sit idly by and not pick a side. And that's not to say that, once you vote for a person, you then have to do X, Y, and Z in reaction to it. No, just consider for a second what two candidates have as their proposed, projections for this country, and see which one is closer to what you actually believe in. And if you really don't have any beliefs one way or the other, or you really don't care, but you are eligible to vote, let me know, because there are people in my life that cannot vote, that cannot vote, that have like literal skin in the game. Like, my wife cannot vote. She still is a green card carrying Canadian citizen and cannot vote yet. Is works here, is taxed, is all laws of this country apply to her, and she has to obey them. But she cannot actually. She has no political weapon to wield. So if you want to just, auction yours off for nothing to me, well, I have someone who actually wants to vote. So, don't just waste it, because there's lots and lots of people who really would want to have that opportunity to have themselves heard politically. But it's going to take work. When I say work, I mean, I Googled how do I vote an absentee, and I was taken immediately from the top link to the PDF that I printed off and filled out. And I needed to luckily I had a stamp, and now I'm out of stamps. So I got to order more stamps so I can mail my ballot in a bit, but I'm going to order more stamps online. I'm going to mail that in when I get it. But that's more effort than just walking down to my voting poll and voting. But the work part was I needed to do that way ahead of time. So regardless, I don't care what you believe in or what you stand for. I don't care if you are my political opposite. I would hope you vote. Yeah. Oh, wait, hang on. Is this actually clean? Yeah, it's clean. What do you think of KU's decision to have in-person classes in the fall. I can't convince myself they are doing it for safety and health. Okay. I can't convince myself they're doing it for the health and safety of the students and faculty anymore. This seems like a financial driven decision. Well, okay. So, I mean, I mean, uh, the way this is phrased, I find a little bit like the idea of collecting a whole bunch of people, back in the dorms. There is no way to say that that they made that decision in the for safety, right? No one's having school as the safe thing to do, or at least not university level stuff. Like there actually is, some at least, it's worth looking at the idea of like if school, like it's a K through 12 elementary school and stuff like that. If that's in session, then it might actually be easier to monitor and track like where the children are, in theory, as opposed to just like they're home and then like the kids just, or the parents just kind of let them go outside and go wherever. Maybe there's like a cleaner paper trail of contact tracing and things like that if they're in school. Okay, that's one thing. But with any university, not just KU, but with any university, if there is a dorm, I do not know how you keep that safe. I don't know if they have plans to make that safe, and what those plans are or how they'll implement them. Because, at some point you're talking about like dictating the way a person just goes home and sleeps at night, right? So I don't think anyone's made the argument that they're putting school back in session because it is the safe thing to do and is safer than everyone being online. I haven't seen anyone say that being online is less safe than having in-person classes. And are they doing it for financial reasons? Well, the sentiment I'm seeing like online is that the students are convinced that they're just being tossed back to university so that they can get their tuition and then sent back home after a couple of weeks. I mean, like all the emails that got sent out were things like, KU took a $120 million hit last semester because of, the way things went down. It's, yeah, I mean, like, I don't think there's any way to avoid saying that, like, if KU is online, they will make less money than if they're in person. That's undeniable. Have they been spending a lot of time and effort to at least, in their eyes, make it as safe as possible? It would seem so. Like I got an email with a picture of like what is it? PPE. Basically, it looked like a like a full blown biohazard mask. Like it was like it was a helmet. It was like the scuba diver's helmet in Abyss, like that kind of stuff. So they're rolling out a lot of countermeasures, but yeah, I mean, like, yes, they want students back in campus because so I need to be very careful about how I phrase this. Every university makes more money when the students are on campus than not. I think that's logic. Every university is also just more productive when the students are on campus than not. Like right now, not only is it just like tuition dollars and, housing dollars or whatever, but there's also just research that has like been slowed down or come to a halt. If anyone is consciously making the decision saying, like, if someone's sitting in a room saying like the money we'll make is worth the health risk, uh, you know, shame on that person. Shame on that person. Whew, hard hitting questions. Oh boy. Wait, hang on. Is this the one? Nope. Okay, that's the one we just did. Um, hang on. Is this? Okay. Oh, that's the same question again. There we go. Would you say this summer class of ECS 268, with all factors accounted for, COVID, it being online, it being a summer class, was harder or easier, the same as taking it in the fall? Well, certainly not this. I mean, it's any online class is not the same as an in-person class. I I don't think that anyone is going to fool themselves into believing that. Um, the material within the class was very, very close to what we would cover in a normal 268 semester. Um, the biggest difference was just the amount of weeks that we had to play with. Um, in a normal, like let's say pre-COVID semester, we would have time for a 2 week lab, or to take a week off from labs, like while we're on break or something. We'd have time for more labs, like 9 labs was about the standard in 268. And over the summer we only got to 7. Now the ones that got cut were labs that had like the topics that they were about rolled into other labs. Like, so there's usually just a standalone recursion lab with some recursion problems. That material got pulled out and put into BoardWorks, and then the recursion lab ended up being just the Maze Walker. Was it the Maze Walker? No, this was the Blob Lab. Blob Lab. So, if it's would that make it harder or easier? I would have to assume that, at least for, like, if you were doing the labs and keeping up with classes, like, just the amount of time that you had to throw at 268 in a single summer week had to have gone up, because you have at the very least 2 more lectures to watch. So like a normal Monday, Wednesday, Friday class in a normal semester, you have the 3 lectures and you have the 1 lab. But in the summer, it was 5 lectures worth of stuff and the lab. And I don't know if the metrics that end up in my lap that I can actually like compare against past semesters, being online is, I don't know, 4 times easier than being in person, because we're hitting like historic highs on labs and tests. But I also think that might be a symptom of just some of the some of the ways I try to compensate, and some of the ways maybe some of the students are trying to compensate with it being online. Like, I'm well aware that I'm fine with you actually going back through notes, which I would never allow in an in-person exam. But I also have to realize, like, just all the opportunities that a student didn't have to ask me a question in person or come to office hours. But it's definitely been different in the sense that, like, like I miss having those back and forth exchanges, because I don't get to see like the gears turn and like that aha moment anymore. So I don't know when and how that's happening. So on my end, like, the numbers are, like, if I had to pass these numbers to up the food chain to be like, oh, hey, students are doing really well. I, you know, I don't know if they're actually an accurate measure of ability anymore, or were they ever? Oh, but it seems like at least the numbers say students are doing great. The real proof will be in classes that you all take down the road. That's it. The docket's clear. Yay. We did it. So yeah, that will conclude this episode of Quarantalk. It definitely feels like a lot of students are nervous. I've had a few nightmares about returning to campus myself, and and all of them involve like me going down a very crowded hallway and no one's wearing masks. And I just like turned my face to the wall and tried to hold my breath and run through the hall. It was I don't like that. I don't like that dream. Um, but you know, as much as it as a teacher, I do want to be back in the classroom. I do. I don't want anyone to have to get in that classroom with me that is afraid. you know, like we already have enough reasons to be afraid just to show up to school as it is. Um, like anyone who had anxiety before, myself included, probably could have done without the pandemic, and all the repercussions and all the what ifs. And to be honest, like I don't know if all the like, well, what about this and what about that and how's this gonna work and what if this goes wrong, and like there's so many questions that I just don't know if they can all get answered before classes start. But it is apparent to me that there's a triage of like questions with regards to safety that are getting answered, but there are some big ones that are definitely lingering out there that I haven't seen yet as of today, July 22nd. I haven't seen a solution for. And yeah, for me, the big one's the dorms. I don't know how the dorms are going to work or if they can work. And oh, I don't know. But if you are sitting there and you're very nervous or afraid or you're hesitant or you're not sure what to do, uh, uh, you know, reach out to someone, if not me, or you don't even know who to reach out aside from me if I've been the only teacher you've had. Um, I would take zero offense if you said in an email, like, I'm reaching out to you to figure out who else I can reach out to. Please let me know. And I'd be happy to do that. I can put you in contact with someone that, one, is probably more trained to deal with these kinds of like anxiety and the fear and that sort of thing. And not just the intro to computer science teacher pouring his 2 cents on a situation that he is not like I'm not sitting in on these committee meetings. I'm not part of any of these planning committees. I'm just seeing emails that roll in. So anyway, man, how can we go out on a high note? That this was just filled with fear and uh-ohs. What's some good news? Louie, come here. Louie. Louie. It's okay. Come here. Louie. Louie. You want beef treat? Beef treat. Come here. Come here, bud. Here, this. You want to know what gives me hope? Come here. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Oh my god. It's okay, bud. Sorry. I wasn't gonna fall on you. Ah. Here we go. Yeah. Say hi, buddy. No. Yeah. What have you been licking? Sweet Jesus. Yeah. So, not saying he's gonna fix everything, but you gotta find some day-to-day therapy, and Louie's a pretty good therapist. So, see you later. I'll be around. The summer semester's gonna end in a couple of days, but I'll be around. Goodbye.